Again, Vladimir Putin stands accused by the British Secretary of State for Defence of helping Iran attack Donald Trump's United States, while Donald Trump's United States is relaxing sanctions against Russia to help Vladimir Putin. Look, by design or by accident, it doesn't matter. This is great news for Vladimir Putin, who is on the opposing side in a war that the United States just started. I need a guest. This never happens, really. It's not a phone-in, is it? I need a guest. We should have a button in the studio for when we turn into every other radio programme under the sun and actually book a guest to come on rather than rely upon the best callers in the business to explain everything to us.
Two stories in the same news bulletin. The British Defence Secretary accuses Russia of helping Iran attack our troops, and Donald Trump relaxes sanctions on Russia. James O'Brien read both, sat with them for a moment, and then did something he almost never does on a phone-in show. He asked for help. Let's watch it together. And before I tell you to like and hit that subscribe button, please allow me the chance to earn that from you.
How do you process this? Two stories in the news today. I think they both made our bulletin, but they're certainly both very prominent in the news this morning. One is that the Defence Secretary, John Healey, has accused Russia of having a hidden hand in Iranian strikes across the Gulf. This after British troops came under attack for the third time since the conflict began. So you have the Secretary of State for Defence in the United Kingdom accusing Russia of being complicit in attacks across the Gulf, including attacks upon British and, of course, American soldiers, American personnel. And in the same news bulletin, in the same breath, in the same news cycle, in the same paragraph of current affairs, you have Donald Trump relaxing sanctions on Russia in order to try to keep the price of oil down that is rocketing entirely and exclusively because of his actions in the Middle East. So if you were to paraphrase that, and I want to be absolutely clear about something at this point, I don't understand this bit, but I also do. So I understand why they are relaxing sanctions on Russia, because they are prioritising the price of oil over continuing to penalise Vladimir Putin over the illegal invasion of Ukraine. But I also don't understand how I can be able to say, without any fear of inaccuracy or exaggeration, the sentence that I am about to say. Vladimir Putin is helping Iran attack Americans, and Donald Trump is helping Vladimir Putin. I can't drop Americans to America, can we? So Vladimir Putin stands accused of helping Iran attack the United States, and let's try again. Vladimir Putin stands accused by the British Secretary of State for Defence of helping Iran attack Donald Trump's United States, while Donald Trump's United States is relaxing sanctions against Russia to help Vladimir Putin. Look, by design or by accident, it doesn't matter. This is great news for Vladimir Putin, who is on the opposing side in a war that the United States just started. I need a guest. This never happens, really. It's not a phone-in, is it? I need a guest. We should have a button in the studio for when we turn into every other radio programme under the sun and actually book a guest to come on rather than rely upon the best callers in the business to explain everything to us. Or, of course, to deploy our own brains. I need a guest. I mean, is that as bonkers as it sounds, or is there room for a little bit more a calmness? We could be a little bit more sanguine about it. Vladimir Putin is helping Iran attack America, and America is helping Vladimir Putin sell oil. I'm going home. That's it. I mean, what do you do now? If you're supposed to do this for a living, you try to make sense of this madness. No wonder some of the people that were cheering for war 10 minutes ago are now desperate not to mention it at all. Well, I will. I'll play a game. On what page of today's Daily Mail do you think the war in Iran, that they are not only massively supportive of, but also adamant that Keir Starmer was a traitor and a fool not to join? Remember, their columnists oscillated between being embarrassed to contact their American friends to being more ashamed to be British than at any other point in my life. Guess what page today you have to reach in the Daily Mail before they even mention the war? Should we do a multiple choice, Keith? Is it page 1? Is it page 5? Or is it page 10 that you have to turn to in the Daily Mail, the king among the warmongers in this country, full of columnists who are absolutely adamant that Keir Starmer was a disgrace not to join in Donald Trump's war? How many pages do they fill today before they actually even mention the fact or turn attention to the fact that the war continues? Is it on page 1, is it on page 5, or is it on page 10? And continuing my increasingly unfashionable obsession with British newspapers, I spend a lot of time criticising the Daily Telegraph, partly for personal reasons. It's my late father's old paper, and partly because they have gone absolutely stark staring mad on their comment pages. Some of the stuff that they publish under unhinged headlines is beyond parody now, as we demonstrated yesterday. But they have an extraordinarily comprehensive, informative and detailed account of the latest developments across the first 3, 4 or 5 pages of their newspaper today. So credit where credit is due. From the first headline about Russia being behind the attack on UK troops, even as Donald Trump, who was insulting our Prime Minister last week, essentially writes cheques for Vladimir Putin, right through to the latest events in the Middle East. They have covered themselves in glory. They also resist the temptation, which all of the Boris Johnson fan club is doing today, of pretending that the Peter Mandelson scandal has somehow portrayed Keir Starmer as a liar. It may do, never say never, but for James Cleverly or Kemi Badenoch, who have still not removed their noses from between the buttocks of Boris Johnson, and of course a long line of client journalists who sat here chuckling and cheering as Boris Johnson rode roughshod over everything from parliamentary procedure to ministerial standards to basic honesty and truth, lied again and got busted for it again and again and again and again. For these people now to pretend that they care about the possibility of a Prime Minister being economical with the actuality is objectively hilarious, even if their heads are too far up Boris Johnson's backsides for them to appreciate it themselves. So you would, wouldn't you? If you'd been calling for war last week and if you'd been cheering Boris Johnson's myriad lies to the rafters for the last few years, you too would be desperate to talk about anything except the things that you were desperate to talk about last week. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. Another journalist I'd like to give some credit to is a friend of mine. You may know him. He's called Ian Dunt. Does some brilliant podcasts, and he writes a Substack that I subscribe to. I pay for this Substack. It's called Striking 13, which I presume is a reference to the first line of 1984. But it is available for free as well. He's an old lefty in many ways, so you can access it for free if you can't afford it. But if you can afford a few quid, then you can chuck it towards Ian. And he's written a piece today that's really focused my mind. It's really focused my mind. I should keep a little list of all the Substacks I subscribe to, just in case you're remotely interested. Let's do that before the end of the programme. Somebody remind me, because I started today's show with absolutely nothing written down. I like to boast to you occasionally about starting the day with 3 words. We'll build an entire 3-hour radio show around 3 little words. Today I've written nothing down before I came into the studio. I've started doodling since I sat down, and all I've written so far is the pages of the Daily. I didn't even know what I'd written down there. I've written down 3 numbers, 1, 5 and 10. On what page of the super soaraway Daily Mail, your favourite warmongering organ, on what page did they finally turn their attention to the existence of a war that last week they were desperate not only to join, but to use to attack Keir Starmer? Page 1, page 5 or page 10. That's all I've got written down. So I should make a little note about the Substacks as well. But Dunt makes a powerful point today. Let me read it to you, actually. First of all, he explains why he's turning his attention to the markets. Last week I wrote about the political and media response to the war in Iran. This week I'm going to write about the market reaction. In both cases we are witnessing the same process. The refusal of people to accept that the world is run by a madman. Any early responses to that? Because we've sat here now for the best part of a fortnight trying to unravel events, trying to make sense of scenarios. What if Ian's right and we are all wasting our time? Because it is like the proverbial pigeon playing chess, who just struts all over the board, pooping and knocking pieces over before claiming victory and doing a lap of honour while everybody else sits there playing rook 4 to knight 2. What if he's right? This is theory number 1 of why there is currently a war in Iran. because this sentence here is haunting me this morning. It contains a word which is, if you're not familiar with Ian Dunt's work, characteristic of his vocabulary, and it's a word that Ofcom doesn't allow me to say on the radio, but you can improvise or work out for yourself. But the truth is, there is no strategy to what the White House does. There is no calculation. There is no sense of logic or application. It is a chuffing madhouse. I got close to this at the beginning of last week when I said, is there any point trying to work things out when you are dealing with somebody so obviously bonkers? But I don't know that you can ever stop, can you? And what do you do if you take this analysis to its logical conclusion? You'd probably start talking about lollipop ladies. Of course, you will also start talking about lollipop ladies if you're too ashamed and embarrassed to admit how badly wrong you've called everything since not only Donald Trump decided to run for presidential office, but also started another war, this time in Iran. But for the rest of us who acknowledge facts and reality and our own mistakes, for the rest of us, what do you do if this analysis is correct? I don't know that I am ready to accept it, but it goes down on my list. The first word I have written down today is dunt. And that is the first theory of why this war is happening. I have a current favourite, and I am going to throw open the phone lines shortly and invite you either to add to the list, to vote for things on the list, or to insist that things should be removed from the list because they're so obviously wrong. I honestly think, am I going to go there? Yeah, I am going to go there. I think the biggest reason, there's not going to be an only reason. So under Dunt's analysis, there are no reasons. It is just a pigeon parading across a chessboard. I don't buy that. Somewhere inside Donald Trump's brain, if you could somehow get a microscope and a computer and find a rationale for what he has done, there will be a reason. It won't just be a sort of belch of activity. Why on earth have you done this? If you could drill right down, pump him full of truth serum and drill right down into what passes for his brain, there must be something there, mustn't there? Why have you done this? The answer can't be because I'm completely mad. Because I am absolutely hat stand. So Dunt's theory of the hat stand is number one. Mine, and I am far from alone in this position, and I'm embarrassed, frankly, to have arrived at it now so completely, given that I was a little bit sniffy and perhaps even, perish the thought, a little bit condescending about people who've been saying this from the start. I think it's Epstein. If you use Occam's razor and you dismiss the possibility that he is just mad and it's like a sort of weird spasm that makes no sense at all and has no intellectual basis. He's just started a war. War! If you remove that from the table, and you might not want me to, what are you left with? Why has he done it? So, theory number two, Epstein. Don't look over here, look over there. You know, it's brought down the US ambassador, the British ambassador to the USA. It's seen a member of the royal family literally removed from the royal family. It's seen various bankers and diplomats and foreign politicians see their careers end in ignominy. It's even seen characters like Bill Gates move from borderline sainthood to sultans of sleaze status. Just a little shout out there for the Dire Straits fans. What other reason is there, if not to distract from the fact that he is all over the Epstein files and accused within them of truly hideous and unthinkable crimes, with, of course, the constant caveat that he denies all wrongdoing, as does Andrew Windsor, and that just because these allegations are made in the files does not mean they're true. So you've got Dunt's theory of the hat stand. Stop trying to analyse it all. He's just mad. Then you've got the Epstein distraction, the dead cat. The hat stand, the dead cat. Then you've got the puppet. You've got the Marco Rubio explanation that Benjamin Netanyahu was getting ready to attack Iran, whether America joined in or not, and America decided that they had to join in because they had to retaliate against the retaliation that they were not able to stop because Netanyahu has gone completely rogue. So Netanyahu's puppet is theory number three. We've got the hat stand, the dead cat, and the puppet. Anything else to put on the list? Any other? So what I want to do today, as you've probably calculated or worked out already, is decide which one you believe the most. Which of these reasons for this war, that is now 2 weeks old, you think is most compelling and most convincing? Is it simply the fact that Donald Trump is mad and this is his latest spasm, stroke, belch, stroke, brain flatulence? Is it that he is so desperate to move attention away from the Epstein files that he has launched a war in the Middle East? Is it that Benjamin Netanyahu was going to do it anyway for reasons similar to why he's conducted a genocide in Gaza, and the American administration felt it had to be involved, not least because retaliation from Iran would involve the targeting of American assets? Is it because his popularity among his own voters, let alone the rest of the electorate, is at an all-time low, and the economy is, or the cost of living is soaring? So is it because he hasn't really delivered on any of the things he promised to deliver on, except the deportations? So even the racists, it would appear, have a limit of how much they will ignore in return for having their dreams met regarding the racism. So is it just because of the looming midterms that it's a desperate roll of the dice in terms of his political fortunes? That's 4. What else have we got on the list? I mean, would we go as far as to suggest that he's done it? No, I don't think we put Vladimir Putin on this list. He's on all the other lists. The only thing you can say with any certainty about Donald Trump is that he will never do anything that really upsets Vladimir Putin. You can say the same about Nigel Farage, actually. Make of that what you will. He'll never do anything that really upsets Vladimir Putin. Farage yesterday was trying to argue that Vladimir Putin, who is a war criminal, has invaded foreign countries and possesses nuclear weapons, is a bigger threat to the West than Iran, that doesn't have nuclear weapons and hasn't invaded any other sovereign countries. Funny that, isn't it? So I don't think Vladimir Putin told him to, fits on this list. But it's your list. It's not my list, it's it's our list. So if you want to put that on the list, give me a ring and tell me why on 0345 6060 973. The hat stand, the dead cat, the puppet and the popularity. 4 theories. Are there any others? Have we got another one? Can you think of any other theories? Is there anything that we've missed? Regime change. Yep, that's right. That was on the list, and then it wasn't on the list. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't be on our list, just because they said it was about regime change, and then they said it wasn't. And the man whose regime they sought to change has currently been replaced by his own son. So do you think it really was regime change? They just somehow changed their mind halfway through the war? Human rights abuses. How does that work? Well, they're killing people in Iran, so we're going to go and kill people in Iran. Okay, it doesn't sound immediately logical, but it might be the reason. They genuinely care. Donald Trump, because remember, it's the machinations of what passes for his mind that we're trying to unravel here. Donald Trump cares passionately about the plight of Iranian civilians. Theory number 6. And he honestly thought he'd be able to help them. I can't keep a straight face saying that, but I can write it down on my list. Sorry, our list. So we're up to 6 now. Any more? Any more for any more? We've got the theory of the hat stand. We've got the dead cat. We've got the puppet. We've got the popularity. We've got regime change. We've got human rights abuses, stroke, concern for the Iranian populace. That's 6. There's room for more, or there's room for you to tell me which one of those you most subscribe to. And remember on this programme, crucially, why. 7 is going to be money. Stroke oil, stroke profits. They sometimes say the quiet part out loud. And Trump did yesterday reveal that we are going to make a lot of money out of this war. But I've got a sneaking suspicion that he doesn't mean you, he doesn't mean me, and he doesn't mean the average American. Some people are going to make a hell of a lot of money out of this war, and they will all be very, very close to, or possibly related, if not biologically, then by marriage, to Donald Trump. So, 2 weeks in, dust not settling, warmongers falling strangely silent, people who predicted exactly what would happen, not feeling remotely smug because the stakes are so hideously high. 2 weeks in, why did he do it? Why did he do it? 0345 6060 973. I mean it. I need to know which one you back, because right now I'm 52% Epstein, 48% something else.
LBC.
Right. Let's start where James started, because the 2 facts he opened with are both true, both from the same morning's news, and together they make no sense at all. Fact 1. John Healey, the British Defence Secretary, has accused Russia of having a hidden hand in Iranian strikes across the Gulf. That's after British troops came under attack for the third time since this thing began. So our own government says Moscow is helping Iran hit British and American personnel. Fact 2. In the same news cycle, Donald Trump relaxed sanctions on Russia. Why? To bring down the price of oil. Oil that is rocketing, as James puts it, entirely and exclusively because of his own actions in the Middle East. Put those together, and you get the sentence that stopped the program dead. Vladimir Putin is helping Iran attack Americans, and Donald Trump is helping Vladimir Putin. And notice what James says just before he says it. He wants to be absolutely clear that he can say it without any fear of inaccuracy or exaggeration. He's not making a claim, he's reading out the news. And then a man who has done this job for decades, on a phone-in program, asks for a guest. He wants somebody to come in and explain it to him. That's not a bit. That's what it looks like when reality outruns the people paid to describe it. So what does he do next? He does the thing this channel exists to admire. He refuses to shrug. He starts building a list. Theory 1 belongs to the journalist Ian Dunt, and it's the bleakest. There is no strategy, no calculation, no logic. It is, in Dunt's words, a chuffing madhouse. James paints it beautifully, a pigeon playing chess, strutting across the board, knocking the pieces over, fouling the squares, then claiming victory and doing a lap of honour while everyone else sits there working out rook to knight 2. And the reason that's uncomfortable isn't that it's rude. It's that if it's true, every analyst on earth is wasting their time. But James doesn't buy it, and this is the interesting bit. He says there must be a reason in there somewhere. Not a good one, not a defensible one, but something. Because the alternative, that the most powerful man alive simply spasmed into a war, is harder to live with than almost any conspiracy. Theory 2 is the one he lands on, and he's careful, so I will be too. James says he thinks it's a distraction from the Epstein files. He notes Trump is named in them and accused within them of hideous things, and then he immediately adds the caveat, and I'm repeating it because it matters. Trump denies all wrongdoing, as does Andrew Windsor, and allegations appearing in files does not mean they are true. That's James's caveat, not mine, and it stands. What's being argued here is a theory about motive, nothing more. What's striking is how he arrives there. He says he's embarrassed. He'd been sniffy, even condescending, about people who'd been saying this from the start. And now he's changed his mind and said so out loud, on air, against his own previous position. Whatever you make of the theory, that's what intellectual honesty sounds like, and it's rarer than it should be. Then the rest of the list. Theory 3, the puppet. Netanyahu going ahead regardless, and America dragged in. 4, the popularity. An unpopular president facing the midterms with a cost of living crisis, rolling the dice. 5, regime change, which was the official reason until it suddenly wasn't. 6, human rights, which James can't even read out with a straight face. And 7, the one this channel would put a fiver on, money. Oil, profits. Because Trump did say the quiet part out loud, that America will make a lot of money from this war. And James's sneaking suspicion is that he doesn't mean you, or me, or the average American. He means people who are very close to him, possibly related to him. And there's your theme. In a war instead of a phone-in. Whatever the reason, the bill lands on people who had no say in any of it, and the profit lands somewhere very specific. The anger over this will get aimed at absolutely everyone except the handful who end up richer. He finishes on 52% one theory, 48% something else. Not a conclusion, an honest scoreboard. So thank you for spending that with a man doing the increasingly exotic work of admitting he doesn't know. Like it if you found it useful, share it with someone who's certain about everything, and subscribe if you'd like more. I'm about 52% sure that's a good idea myself.